We're here with another episode of Under Further Review. We're without Mike this week. It's Steve, Joe here.
No one wants to stay with us.
Yeah,
Everybody would try to get to join the show. It's always just you and me. We'll be doing this podcast in our 50s, and it'll just be you and me.
is that our tap out age, 50s, and then we're
I'm I'm just giving you a bleak picture.
and then on to hopefully bigger and better things. I wonder if what the podcast landscape of things will be when we are in our 50s. Do you think it will even be a thing anymore?
It'll either be everything or it'll be like broadcast TV is now. It'll be quickly updated.
I wonder if AI will factor into it. I know it's already starting to factor into it. So, like, what will be the extent of AI in podcasting?
You
It's
heard my AI rant.
yeah, yeah. One of the previous episodes you talked about it, but I mean, think about it. Like 10 years ago, we weren't thinking about podcasts as to the extent that it is now. I think I was always hopeful that talk radio and just radio in general would stick around, and it's slowly dying.
Yeah, I was always wondering who's gonna be the next schmooze. Who's gonna be the next Mike Francesa?
Who would be the next Howard Stern?
That's Joe Rogan basically.
Yeah, from the podcast world. And I would say,
He's the best interview in media right now, I would say.
what about Francesca, like sports wise? Who would you put up there on that, like that level that he was at? Him and Mad Dog.
I think it's still Francesa and Mad Dog. I don't
No,
know.
not to this day. Sports podcasting, I think that's a little different.
It's such a unique East Coast brand, such an abrasive brand that they have. I really don't know who it would be that would even fill his shoes.
I'm just trying to think like the bigger podcasts that are out there right.
I just can't imagine somebody born after 1980 acting like Mike Francesa, which is a compliment.
But think about it, like the Mike Greenbergs of the world. He was on with what was his name on ESPN?
Mike Golick.
Golick. It was Mike and Mike. That was a
Mhm.
big one at the time. Uh, once Francesa and Mad Dog kind of branched out, they were still pretty big. Mad Dog went to Sirius XM. Francesa kind of stuck around with the Fan, but I mean, the Fan has always been like the supreme sports radio. I know it's mostly New York talks, mostly a New York talk show, but they do dabble with other stuff across the country, and that's how they made a brand. Is I know Mad Dog was a big Giants fan, San Francisco Giants, I should add, not New York Giants, and Francesa, I think, liked all the New York teams, and that they would always get into arguments about that. But if I have to be truthful, like big time sports podcast, your guy Bill Simmons is up there. If you look at top,
He's not my guy. He's pretty well known.
yeah, but you love him. You listen to him every week, I think.
I've well, you talk about we don't know where podcasts were coming. I've been listening to his podcast since like 2007, like episode one, and he was the only one really doing it. I think it was like him, Adam Carolla. I think Mark Maron and Tom Green had like proto podcasts. Like Joe Rogan didn't get started till like 2010, and he's considered like a super early adopter.
Did you read Bill Simmons' work though? Like I know he blogged, and that's how he originally got bigger.
Oh yeah, the old page two with the yellow background, black lettering,
Yeah,
just like that, just awful formatting they used to have.
that's how he was
Yeah,
found. That's how he eventually got to ESPN because of
yeah. I think I was probably reading that going back to like middle school. Honestly, that's probably when I first got into sports.
yeah, yeah. I like what he's doing now. I remember Grantland, right? He had Grantland, and then
Yeah,
now he has the Ringer, which the Ringer's great. I just his show is more from like a fan perspective. He goes deep into like analysis and stuff like that. But he has fun with his friends too. Like he hired all his buddies, and like they do a movie talk, podcast,
yeah, yeah.
rewatchables. But like his NBA one, he invites all his buddies on, and they just talk NBA
Yeah.
for like.
Well, yeah, the movie one I think is more journalists he found, but yeah, he's got a buddy Joe House he's known since college. I think he's been pretty regularly on there, intoxicated or not.
Who's the guy that does all the NFL talk with him? Like one of the most popular ones he has.
Is it Kevin O'Connor? Maybe.
Uh, the guy.
Oh, cousin Sal. Cousin Sal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you would
I don't
think.
know if people. I don't know if people tuned in for Bill Simmons history, but yeah. No, he used to work in the Jimmy Kimmel show, and obviously cousin Sal's like still on it. So
Yeah, I would say right now, like Pat McAfee's on top of the world. Bill Simmons is up there. Part of my take's probably one of the most popular sports podcasts. Like if they ask for an interview, they get anyone they want, and
yeah.
they get the listens. Other than that, like New Heights. New Heights is always on top of the charts. But
Under further review, up over 200 possibly non-bot subscribers.
yeah,
I
I'm
think that's pretty
actually
remarkable.
I'm pretty happy about what our YouTube videos have shown so far. I know the Cesar Ruiz interview 2 episodes ago is up to almost 300 views. Last or two, the Quentin Lake one is like approaching 200 probably. So for what it's worth, a podcast that just started a YouTube channel, we're getting some
We
views.
were stuck at 85 followers for about 2.5 years.
Yeah, so this is good growth so far. If you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel, it's under further review. It's pretty straightforward. Our podcast page I have right here. It's under further review pod. Um, 2 R's in it. So between the further and the review is 2 R's. But yeah, let's get into what we want to talk about, which is on everyone's mind, at least if you're a sports fan, is March Madness. And Joe, I saw you did your bracket. And by the way, if anybody's listening to this before the Thursday games, we'll see when we get this out.
It's
Um,
not going to get out before
yeah,
then.
probably not, but that's fine. It'll be day one. But I'll probably blast this on our socials that we're running a pool right now. It was more of a last second thing that we put together. Maybe in the future we'll do better with these type of things, but
And the house takes in 90% rake. So be thankful if you win, you get anything.
yeah, beggars can't be choosers. Um, but yeah, it'll be nice because it will help us. We use Riverside for recording. It will help us with things like that. Maybe other marketing
Electric bills,
yeah,
gas money.
it's tough out there right now. It's hard, but
No, I need money to buy Wonder Bread peanut butter bananas so I can survive
let's not go that far. Even when you were not working, you were still buying Floricios every week and going to Whole Foods.
every other week. I cut down a little bit.
You got that.
Cut down.
But you're back at it. You're back on the saddle again.
I will be living under a bridge before I get my chicken anywhere else but Whole Foods.
It's fresh chicken. You need it. You,
It's good chicken tendies. Very good.
you can't get that stuff that's been sitting out.
No, I don't want to bash any other store brand names, but
No.
there's just a texture and a rubberiness to other store brand chickens that just don't. Because when I eat 2 pounds of the stuff a day, I don't want it to be unpleasant. So
You got to give Trader Joe's a try. It's really good stuff. Their chicken.
it's not bad.
Yeah, I think it's better than Whole Foods in my opinion.
That's a wrong opinion.
We can hold the poll. Trader Joe's or Whole Foods chicken tenders edition.
No, just the chicken breast, not the tenders.
The breast, the ones that come in the packet. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I'm about. I'm not talking about like actually breaded chicken tenders.
I bet you they get it from the same farm, and I sound like a fucking idiot.
Yeah, probably. But how does Trader Joe's pull it off where they're way cheaper than Whole Foods?
Money laundering.
Probably quite popular. But yeah, March Madness. Did you at least see what happened with North Carolina? So I think North Carolina played 12 or 13 Power One games this year. I could be wrong. It's probably a higher number, but I know they only
When
had.
did this quad 1, quad 2, quad 3 shit start?
It's been
That snuck up on me.
stuck up recently, but it's been around. They've
Isn't
been
that
several years now.
wasn't there a more specific way of doing it where it was like a strength of schedule? Because what if you play a bunch of higher tier quad 2 teams that are almost quad 1? Like wouldn't that skew your shit down?
I,
Like why use these arbitrary cutoffs? I'm not saying it's wrong, it's just like it snuck up on me. Back in my day, we took each game individually and assigned it like a number.
I think that's the question though, because like I watch St. John's basketball often. You know, outside of Michigan, like that's the team I follow for basketball. And last year, St. John's got really hot at the right time. They ended the regular season on a hot streak, and then they went into the Big East tournament. I think they made it to the semifinal game, maybe, but they came within 5 points of a UConn team that eventually just demolished the rest of the NCAA field and went on to win the championship. And they got left out of the tournament, and people thought that was robbery, and also Seton Hall too. But the thing was, um, I think what St. John's did that first season with Patino was they stacked up their I guess their non-conference schedule with tough opponents, and they end up losing those games early on in the season. And I guess people held that against them later on or something. But they were so this year they were kind of like, what's the point of doing that if you're going to play the tough teams and come close to beating them, and uh, you know, and have that held against you, and then but meanwhile other teams are playing like cupcake cupcake games, like powder puff games, and they're winning
That's
by
football,
like
Steve.
what's that?
He said Powerpuff is football.
Powder puff, a cupcake I should stick with. But they're winning by like 20, 30 points, maybe more. Like what is that doing for you? You're just racking up wins. So like what is the cutoff for these people? What are they taking more seriously is the question. I don't have that answer. I just look at who gets in. Um, but like you have Ken Palm rankings, and I couldn't even begin to explain to you what Ken Palm is. Uh, I leave that for the experts. But like what is
It's a simple regressive equation. If you want me to spell it out for you,
do you know the exact reasoning behind Ken Palm?
I just made that up. I don't know
I
what it is.
was gonna say I'd be shocked,
I've heard of it.
but like they have Power One, Power Two, then they have this Ken Palm. It's like just give me a amount of wins that it's going to take to get into the tournament, and let's call it a day, you know. But I get why you would bring in uh, the Power One thing. It's like, all right, don't have a non-conference schedule where you're just going to walk to like 12, 13 wins, no problem. But at the same time, it's like, what are you going to hold as like that cutoff for some of these teams? And like, I know the team that got hurt the most was West Virginia, and Big 12 basketball was probably down this year. But like, what conference wasn't down outside of the SEC this season? The SEC sent in what, like a record amount of teams?
12. I think 12.
Yeah,
I think if Texas had made it around further, they probably would have gone in.
it, people were saying everyone was down. They said the Big East was down. The Big East just squeaked in, I think, 5 teams. Xavier got in, so it's Marquette, UConn, St. John's, Creighton, and Xavier all got in. But that's a low number for the Big East. More than last year, I think, but a low number nonetheless. Big Ten seemed like it was a little down this year. It really seems like the SEC is like primed to have at least 2 or 3 Final Four teams, because that Florida team just took care of business in the SEC tournament. Uh, Auburn looked like the number one team in the country until the last few games of the season. Alabama's bringing back the core of their lineup that went to the Final Four last season. So, like, give me arguments that are against these three making it. I guess you could say Alabama's going to run into a Duke team in the Elite Eight, but I don't know if you were watching this, but Cooper Flag has an injury right now. Like, what is going to be the extent of his playing time during the first 2 rounds? Because if I'm a fan, like from you, Joe, big time, you're a big time NBA guy. Like, you're probably watching this tournament to see what Cooper Flag's really about, right?
I've already heard what he did in NBA scrimmages. I don't think I need to. Cooper Flag's so far above like us, him needing to prove anything.
Yeah,
Not that he would. It's sort of like Zion before his. He was actually injured right before the tournament. That was the year where his shoe blew out, and then Nike lost like 5% of its stock value or something like that. So I don't know. It'd be cool to see him play, but I don't think it's gonna make or break what people perceive of him. Like he's solidly number one.
yeah. And
Unless he gets his leg amputated or he has like a Kevin Ware injury.
yeah,
Even then, someone will probably take a flyer on him.
or his
So
shin just like explodes out of nowhere. That
yeah,
you saw like the particles in the air when that happened. It was
he played after that, right?
he played like the next season. He definitely didn't play that tournament, but that Louisville team I think went on to win the NCAA championship that
I
year.
think I'd pass out if I saw a bone sticking out of my own leg.
Yeah, that'd be too much for me to bear. I'm happy that's never happened. All those years of playing sports, didn't have an injury like that. Came close with the collarbone injury. I still have something that like comes out pretty far here, but nothing to that extent. That seems pretty disgusting. Although when I was a freshman in college, I had a friend that hit a stop sign. They stuck their leg out on a go kart, and it cut right through their leg, and I saw the bone. That was pretty tragic.
Was he on
But
the baseball team?
no, no.
Oh, okay.
But
That's a shit way to end your athletic career. If that's what you do.
yeah, luckily they weren't playing sports by then, so it was okay. 100 something stitches though. It's a lot. But yeah, I think the big story was there was a few big time stories, but I think for the most part, every team that you thought would get in outside of West Virginia, everyone thought West Virginia would go. Got in. But the one team that was surprising was North Carolina. We were talking about the Power One record, and I think they only had one Power One win this year, and that shows how down the ACC was. But they played Duke 3 times. They played a Duke team without Cooper Flag, so they had their opportunities to pick up some Power One wins, and obviously the amount of Power One losses they had this year.
I
But
think Duke without Cooper Flag is still like a top 15 team.
it's better than that, probably. They still were crushing it. But
Yeah.
the 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 story to me was like,
I wasn't 100% sure because I'm not even going to pretend to watch college basketball. So I gave myself a little buffer with that. Top 15,
but
100.
the thing with the North Carolina is the guy, the athletic director is on the selection committee, and he actually, if North Carolina gets into the tournament, I think he gets a bonus of over 100,000. So like how is that not like corrupt in any way? You're on the selection committee. You're obviously boys with the rest of the committee. So it's like even if you remove yourself from the situation and let them talk about North Carolina, it's like how awkward is that if you walk back in and they're like, "Yeah, we didn't put North Carolina in." Of course they're putting North Carolina in, especially if they're borderline like that.
I mean, they've got Bill Belichick and the Jordan brand. I don't think anyone's going to leave him out if they're even. I think all they have to do is hit like double digit wins, and they'll probably be a bubble team at the very least.
Yeah, which they were there, and they have R.J. Davis back, who is a very good player at point guard. But
We're old fucks though. We can still remember there's only 64 teams and that was it. So the fact that there's four more at large bids,
yeah,
like any bubble team this year would have been easily left out, 12 years ago or whenever they expanded it.
is that appointment TV though? Because to me it's not. Like I wasn't sitting here excited about the last four in the games that they're playing right now as we record this
Mm.
Tuesday night.
Well, it
Um,
doesn't affect your bracket,
no,
so that's the only reason I would care.
like I'm
And
thinking,
I have three of them now, so no matter what, I'm going to be unhappy.
what other ones are you in?
DraftKings,
Oh, you just joined. Like
our first official sponsor.
yeah, I wish that would be a sick one. FanDuel or Draft.
That's the only thing I've consistently made money on is the DraftKings brackets.
So you're
You just pick chalk. You pick chalk. Well, I guess it's because UConn happened to win it the last 2 years. So when the chalk hits, you do get a little money. But
yeah.
you know,
Let's see what happens this year with UConn not being a lock to win it.
I know the one time St. John's is at fucking 2 seed again. I mean, you've got probably some of the more top heavy 1 seeds we've ever had, right?
But look at the second round that they could be facing. So if St. John's gets past Omaha, which hopefully they should, but we've seen some major upsets over the past 5 to 10 years.
They're not playing your alma mater, so I think they have a chance.
Yeah, yeah. There, Fairleigh Dickinson's women's team did get into the tournament, though. They won the Northeast Conference, I think. But if St. John's wins that round one game, they have to face either Kansas, who is usually pretty good, and I think they still have Dickerson at center. Or they have to face Arkansas, and you know who their head coach is now, right?
Don't embarrass me on here.
John Calipari. You know that name from
I know.
Kentucky.
I know.
So like that's a tough second round right there to start with. But also Texas A&M's in their bracket.
Steve, we're cutting that out.
Hey, you do all the recording, so you can cut it out.
I would have told you Memphis.
That he's coaching now?
Yeah, is like Willie Cauley-Stein still in Memphis?
No. Uh,
Okay.
is that the last time you followed college basketball?
No, I followed Golke last year for 2 rounds.
Hear that? That was fun times. And then that big dude from NC State, what was his name? I forget. He,
It's like the NFL season. Just give me like 2 or 3 days, and I'll pretend like I knew all along everything.
is it like
So
NBA? Like, are you actively watching the NBA now, or are you going to kick in during the playoffs?
no, I've been watching every game
Next game?
at once. Which one?
No, I mean,
Miles Bridges is finally starting to earn himself maybe half a first round draft pick.
instead of the 5 that we had to give up for him.
It's about time our fucking schedule got a little easier.
Yeah,
The doctor ordered for us to play Miami, and I mean, we probably should have lost to Portland, honestly. Um,
that buzzer beater, yeah.
of course, Scoot Henderson decides to come of age when we fucking play him, but
Happens every time.
that's why we got Cat. Like we have a top five, yeah, maybe top five playoff closer in the league. It's probably a little like it's probably a little too much fanning, but Cat's not a guy where you want him to be your playoff closer. But since we already have one, he's a guy who can carry the load in the regular season. He can, sort of just fill up the scoreboard, and then when it's the fourth quarter, he takes over. And for these situations where Thibodeau runs his star players to the ground, this is why we need Cat. And I think he's been easily 50% better than I thought he'd be for the Knicks.
Yeah,
And I thought he was pretty good for Minnesota.
Minnesota, eh?
Yeah, let's not talk about March Madness anymore. This is my comfort zone.
Well, I wanted to talk about one thing. I want to stick on St. John's real quick. Give a
I
look.
actually have a list. So I know last year I did my seedings. I ranked all 8 first round seeding matchups, and I feel like I've sort of grown as a person the last year, and my opinions have changed a bit. Steve, you do not look excited for this.
You know, before you give that list, you know what's tough about like the bracket that we're doing on Sleeper is you kind of want to go with the general public because it shows the percentage of who picked what teams.
Oh,
And
I don't look at that. I can't.
I'm like, it's hard to miss it though because it's directly under the name of the team. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm excited about a team like Drake or something. And
Well, it doesn't even show you the whole bracket when you actually pick your teams. It's like you click and it shows you. It's like basketball Tinder. You just click and it goes to the next game profile. Like I like to see the structure of the bracket sort of pan out as I click on it.
yeah,
I don't know.
see your work in motion, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'd rather do a paper one than fucking sleeper.
Dude, paper was my jam when that was still a thing.
Oh yeah.
But how did people do like what we're doing now? Like you would have to keep it really local. It would have to be like a work pool, or you didn't do a pool at all if you did.
Yeah, you would pay the league manager. That running a bracket pool in the days of paper was 100 times easier than a football league. I mean, you had to literally add up everybody's scores with the newspaper and send it out.
That sounds miserable. I don't
I
want to
know.
do math outside of work.
That's what my dad used to do at work. They used to hold the draft in his basement. They had like a giant whiteboard.
When did your dad start like a fantasy baseball league?
I don't know baseball, but football he was doing like since the 90s. They used to hold the draft in our basement.
It's crazy what like the calculations you had to do every single week to pick who was
No, but
winning.
if that's the only way you can get fantasy sports, you would make it happen.
Would you every Sunday, or not even every Sunday because there was Monday night games? Every Tuesday, would you sit down and do those calculations just to do fantasy football?
It depends on what the commissioner got paid. I think it was usually like 20%. Like it was a lot of work.
It should be that way. to this day, just because collecting the money is a lot of work. I feel like.
If it was a $2,000 pool, you'd expect the commissioner to get 300 or 400.
Yeah, true.
I mean, that's like 3 hours every week probably. And if you fuck up, everyone's gonna hate you.
I'm sure there were some fuck ups.
Oh, of course.
Oh, there definitely were. Let's hear that list though, Jeff.
Oh, thank you, Steve.
I'm giving you center stage.
And the fact that I couldn't name John Calipari's current school off the top of my head does not discredit this list at all.
If this was that show that's getting shut down on ESPN, what's it called, where they give the points for everything?
Stump the Schwab.
No.
Oh.
For that, you have to do your
Around the horn.
yeah.
Around the horn.
If this was around the horn,
Yeah.
you'd get minus points right now.
I'd be the Woody Page of this show.
You definitely would. But instead of like the inspirational quotes he always has behind him, it's the bowl.
Yeah. That's it, Steve. It's good. See, we're finally having a show today. Without Mike, this is like the Jeb Bush of shows. It's just been low energy, Steve. We gotta up the energy.
I'm gonna report back to him. I'm gonna let Mike know after this recording. Joe wants more energy.
Yeah. No, I'm saying we're missing his energy.
Yeah, true.
We need 3 people to fill in the blank space of a bunch of tired 30-somethings after 14 hours of work.
I mean, true. Actually, with baseball season here, I'm doing the 14 hours too. So,
good Lord. Okay. By the way, this is an old W4. It's not even written down. I just use it as a prop.
Don't put any personal information on that camera. People are going to be pausing and see.
This is an old one. This is from like A&P.
Oh, God. You still have one of those?
800 hours, $6,000 take-home pay.
Oh, yeah. My God. What does that even equate to?
I don't know. I think some of the immigrants they hired probably made more than me. So I don't even...
You know,
it was people like me that kept that place running because they still had the infrastructure from the 70s.
You know, the McDonald's by your house is paying people $18 an hour now.
What am I doing? They would have found a job right away.
They have the sign outside the McDonald's. It's like, we pay $18 an hour. I don't know if they're lying to people to get them through the door.
That's crazy. I would have done that.
In high school? Are you kidding me? If you told me I was going to make 18 an hour?
Steve, I'll do that now.
Part-time work, weekend.
Fuck it, man. I don't need the weekends.
You wouldn't even do that when you weren't doing your finance job.
Yeah, I know. Well, you know, I have my job and I have this league I'm running that I have to add up shit from the newspaper. So, you know.
Big newspaper guy.
Yeah. I just like reading the funnies.
Let's hear that list. I'm anxious now. I need to know this list.
Number 1.
For once.
Number 1.
I'm giving you an A+.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. I worked hard on this.
Well, how long did it take you? 5 minutes, if that?
I didn't write anything down, so I don't know how you'd grade that.
Oh.
I don't even know what my order is. I'm thinking of it as I go.
All right, let's go. Number 1.
Number 1, 15 versus 2. I think in the last 15 years, I think we've tripled the amount of 15 seeds that have won. It's almost a disappointment if you don't see a 15 seed win, which we've been watching long enough where you were lucky if there was a single 15 seed game that was within a few possessions. So if you want like an earth-shattering favorite to lose, 15-2 seems to be the most intriguing matchup. So that's number 1. Number 2, I have sorry, I can't read my own handwriting. The 13 versus 4. This has always had a special place in my heart. If I see the numbers 13 and 4 together, it just makes me think of March Madness. I think it's the new 12 versus 5. I think 12 versus 5 is overblown. I think it's bullshit now. I think every hack journalist wants you to think that 12 versus 5 is some sort of big deal. But if like an underachieving Oklahoma State team beats like an overachieving Creighton team, does that really feel like an upset? I don't think so. Steve, that's my hot take. 12 versus 5 is dead. There's a 12 seed that's going to be favored this weekend. Colorado State.
I thought, what is Drake ranked?
Drake is playing Missouri. They're an 11 seed.
Oh, never mind.
I did look at the bracket. All right. Number 3, I have 16 versus 1. For the longest time, this was probably my number 1 because there's really no other stage in sports quite like a 16 versus 1. you have these guys who are basically playing like D2 ball, or the opportunity to knock off these legendary coaches with these future professionals on the largest possible stage. And it was just sort of like that elusive white whale of the sports world, that 16 seed. And now, we've had two in a 3-year span. Your ratchet fucking school won, so it feels kind of diluted.
Fairly
It would still be a huge deal, but since there's like a lack of history, all we get are, a bunch of fucking blowouts. Number 4, which I think is the most overrated, is the 14 versus 3. Whenever I think of 14-3, I always think of Montana playing like the last game of the week, last game of the first round, and it's always your last opportunity for an upset, and then they're down by 15 at the half. I feel like 14-3 doesn't deliver quite as often as it should in comparison to like a 15 seater. Steve, isn't this a great list?
I like this. This brings up
What's my
to the show.
what's my order? What's my order so far?
Uh,
Have you been listening?
Number 1 was 15 verse 2. Number 2 was 13 verse 4 because you're new. 12 verse 5, you think 12 verse 5 is overblowing.
There
Number
we go.
3 is 13 verse 4. No, I just said 13 verse 4. 15 verse 1. No, 15.
14 verse 3, close enough. I was going to quit the show if you couldn't name
That
one,
was tough.
so you're good.
Hard.
No, you're good. You're
Now
good.
you're talking about 16 verse 1.
Yeah, 16 verse 1. 14 verse 3 was number 4. I think that's where you kind of zoned out and stopped listening to me.
I was looking at that
Um,
standings. I'm sorry, but I'm
Number
listening.
5, 6 verse 11. By George, the dream is alive. Number 6, I have the 12 verse 5. Just dog shit, absolutely ratchet. I don't care if all the 12 seeds win. I don't like it. Number 7, I have the 8 verse 9. The only reason it's not in last place is because, if an 8 or 9 seed overachieves, you sort of want to see if they have a chance against a 1 seed of the next round. And if you happen to start off 2-0 or 3-0 versus in the 8-9 matchups, you feel really, really confident about your bracket. Like you actually know what you're doing before your heart's ripped out by late Saturday afternoon. And finally, I have 7 versus 10. I never like to watch the 7 versus 10 game. It's always Florida versus Utah State or some stupid shit. If you pick a 7 seed, you feel like a nit. And if you pick a 10 seed, you feel like a dumbass. And nothing good has ever come out of a 7 versus 10 game.
So
So that's it. And say that again.
I was gonna say that's a beautiful list.
Right. And I have one more list. I have a ranking of all the possible Final Four seeding matchups in order. So let me just get through these quick.
You're talking this year.
Any.
Okay,
So number 1 would be a 16 versus 16. That would be fucking nuts.
that would be unreal.
Number 2, 16 versus 15. Number 3, 16 versus 14. Number 4, 3 versus 13. Number 5, 14 versus 5. Number 6, 1 versus 1. Number 7, 1 versus 16. Number 8, 12 versus 6. Number 9, 8 versus 8. Number 10, 15 versus 7. Number 11, 11 versus 2. Number 12, 3 versus 13.
Okay.
Number 13, 16 versus 4. Number 14, 5 versus 6. I lost count. Is that good?
I love the first list. I lost count of the second list too. But
Right,
that's
that's
good
fine.
content.
That's fine. We don't need to say numbers.
I'm happy that you wrote it down. I'm going to talk real quick before we turn the page on this. So you want to talk Cinderella stories?
I like looking at numbers and bracket shapes. The people don't matter to me.
That's all you do all day
Back
at
to
work.
you.
Though.
Exactly. It's a very healthy way of thinking.
So this is nothing new to you.
No,
But
not at all.
But this stuff matters because like think about like stardom the rest of your life. Like look at Jack Golke last year. Like that guy, when you talk about March Madness, you're gonna bring up his name for as long as he lives, probably. And he'll like every year he'll be a nobody from like the end, the beginning of April until March comes around again. But every year when March comes around, like I'm sure there's gonna be somewhere for him to do an interview. I'm sure he'll do a celebrity bracket somewhere. His name will pop up. But think about like some of the really fun stories. I think my favorite in the past like 10, 15 years was Loyola when they made that run to I think the Final Four. That team was so fun. They didn't have anybody that looked like they had any business playing basketball on their team, but somehow they still continue to win games. They were never high scoring affairs. They played a lot of defense. They made timely buckets. And I will say, talk about interviews that I've been fortunate enough to do. I got to interview Marcus Towns on that team during the run. So I think they were in the Sweet 16, and I interviewed him at that point. St. Peter's from New Jersey. That literally got um, is it Shaheem Holloway, the coach of Seton Hall? I forget his first name, but I know it's Holloway.
John Calipari.
Yeah, Kyle Parr is coaching Seton Hall now. That's a big hire for Seton Hall, New Jersey, baby. But St. Peter's making the run. Were they the Final Four too? But Joe,
No, they made it. They made it to the Elite Eight.
Elite Eight, okay. But let's not forget Davidson in 2008. Why is that a big storyline, Joe? Was that not the emergence of Stephen Curry? Like,
It was, but his dad was also in the league, so you kind of like he didn't come out of nowhere. He just looked like he was a few cheeseburgers short of being an actual D1 player. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, that game against Wisconsin, that game against Georgetown, I was completely sold at that point. I wanted him to go to the Knicks, and I think the Knicks would have taken him, but unfortunately, the Warriors, I believe, picked ninth that year, and the Knicks picked 10th. And the Timberwolves decided to take Ricky Rubio and Johnny Flynn, who actually is one of my favorite college basketball players ever. I'm surprised he didn't work out, but
Rubio or Flynn?
Johnny Flynn, Syracuse.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good one. Rubio, like I just had that feeling that he wasn't going to be that fantastic in the NBA from the start, but he was a decent player at point guard. T Wolves, right? Timberwolves for a long time. Uh,
Yeah, he was an NBA caliber player at like 15 years old,
yeah,
and he just sort of stayed right around there for
yeah, exactly.
next 20 years.
Like the Minnesota franchise looked at him as like putting them over the top, and he was never capable of doing that.
I would have loved the Knicks to pick him at the time.
He was a pass first point guard, wasn't much of a scorer, couldn't really hit a 3-pointer, didn't really drive to the hoop. I mean, you were lucky if you got 15 points from him in a game. But the assists were always high, so that
Well,
was
we had the same haircut, so I always had a soft
what
spot.
matters. We should
Yeah.
do like a side by side like picture of the two of you. Like your
Yeah.
current haircut. Are we talking about the one that's in the frame right now?
No, I'm talking the bowl cut.
You know what your current haircut is? Your current haircut is one that's like a
I
7.
just got out of the shower. That's what my haircut is right now.
No, it's like a 7'1" European center that
Oh, a Detlef Schrempf.
yeah, something like that.
He was ahead of his time. I'll take it.
You kind of
That's
give
good.
me Rocky 4 vibes.
Ivan Drago, Steve. You act like you're busting my balls, but these are compliments.
Trying to come at you now. I'm just
Oh,
saying
okay.
what you're giving me right now. It's definitely not a Ricky Rubio haircut. It's more
It's
like
fine. And you look like Mr. T. How do you like that?
Mr. T. I'd be honored to be as shredded as Mr. T. Let me tell you. But um, yeah. Going back to Curry, without that run that Davidson did, like I don't know if he's a first round pick. I'm
No, not a first round pick.
He's definitely not a first round pick. And then like is his NBA story the same thing that it becomes, like the Warriors pick him in the first round. They really bank on him changing the franchise and he did. But like if he gets picked in a second round, like are they giving him the same minutes? Is he becoming the same player that he has? Does he have the same confidence? I don't know. Maybe this trip to the NBA changes if
I
Davis.
can't see that man ever lacking confidence in
Yeah,
his jump shot. He would have figured it out. Even if he put up like 20 some points per game as like a Lou Williams kind of like flamethrower guy, he would have found a way.
true, true. But I mean that run definitely changed his path. It changed his story And it ultimately got him to the Warriors because that was a good situation for him. And for whatever reason, Steve Kerr was like the perfect coach for for him. Uh, I don't know why. I don't know what Kerr does that's different from anyone else.
It could have just been that Mark Jackson wasn't.
Yeah,
That roster just sort of played itself. But
yeah, it all worked out. I mean, they also had the talent, so that
Jason Tatum doesn't think he's a good coach.
Steve Kerr, because of the minutes from the
Yeah.
Olympics. I mean, you're coming off a NBA Finals run where you're the best player on that team. You probably should get minutes in the Olympics. So I tend to agree with Tatum with that. But that's in the past now. They won the gold medal, so what does it matter?
It's
Um,
so random though. It's not like he like plays for the Rockets or like a rival. Like they played once in the finals, and Tatum's like the most unassuming dude.
Tatum has like a stigma that follows him. Is it weird that that happens? Like you bring up Tatum's name and you don't say, "Oh, superstar." You instantly say, "Oh, how does he rank against other superstars?" Like that's the first thing people think of. It's not like I don't know. Like it, it's obviously not LeBron. It's not Stephon Curry, but like so Anthony Edwards. Like I feel like he's made a case to maybe be mentioned in the same category as Edwards, but nobody talks. Everyone talks about Edwards like he's going to be the superior person that's going to be like the star of our league for a long time to come, and he might become that. But has he earned that title yet? And I started to talk about
Not ahead of Tatum.
that's
I
what
wouldn't.
I'm saying.
I was close after the playoffs last year, but not ahead of Tatum. No,
No, it's not at that point. Uh, it's just,
Tatum's just been in that like fifth to 12th best player in the world kind of purgatory, which
but he's
which is a fine place to be when you have the kind of roster that they have. I mean, I would be shocked if he only wins one title, especially with the team they have.
he's a solidified tier one player now, though.
Yeah, I mean, if something fell out of the sky and killed him tomorrow, he'd be a Hall of Famer.
Exactly. So that
No, like no doubter.
yeah, he should.
Especially if something fell out of the sky and killed him, he'd probably get let in early first ballot.
So there should be a lot more respect around his name, which there's not. I mean, obviously,
Yeah,
he's not going to be grouped with like the Lucas, the Jokic, the LeBrons, the the Stephon Currys of the world. But it's fair to say that he's in that tier with like the Jalen Brunsons, the the Anthony Edwards. Actually, throw Giannis into the Luca tier with LeBron and all of them. Who else? Like who else am I missing? I'm sure there's plenty of others, but
probably Wemby when he's healthy.
Wemby, yeah. I don't like. I can't even put Embiid in like those tiers anymore because like what is Embiid?
Deuce McBride, probably.
The way he's playing right now for the Knicks,
Hell yeah.
had a great game against the Heat the other night. Um, McBride's like we like to kind of make jokes about their bench right now and their lack of depth, but McBride's a nice little piece to come off the bench, and now he's got the playoffs experience, so that will definitely help him.
They've been leaning on him. He's been sturdy.
Yeah, he's been good. He's been good. That has me excited about when the playoffs come around. Before we talk a little NBA, I figure we'd close that out, but
I think we've talked like 75% NBA. And then I rattled off a bunch of numbers for 20 minutes.
yeah, it was a good list. That first list,
Thank
definitely.
you. Thank you.
Joe, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins were signed. Jamar Chase agreed to a 4 year, $161 million extension. T. Higgins got a 4 year deal, $115 million. I think a lot of this was to please Joe Burrow because there was rumors that he might look to go elsewhere. But do you feel okay paying one position that much money? Because like the salary cap's a hard salary cap in the NFL. Like you can't go above that. So now you're kind of stunting yourself. And we've seen the Cowboys when they pay their superstars, they kind of hurt themselves in the future. Look at what they did with Zeke Elliott and CD Lamb and Dak Prescott and all of them.
I know, but those are the Cowboys. I mean, Jerry Jones is many things, but he is not cheap.
But like
If he sees an opportunity to buy quality, he'll buy it.
if you just got these deals done like a year or two earlier, you're not paying what this monster wide receiver market is expecting now.
Yeah, but
Um,
Cincinnati's like the cheapest team in the league. I mean, they were hoping to hold out for less, or maybe quietly let T. Higgins go without Joe Burrow throwing too much of a fit.
That was a talk
But
for a while. But now they brought all their
yeah,
pieces back. Mike Gesicki's back at tight end, New Jersey represent. You got Jamar Chase locked in, T. Higgins. Everyone's happy now. If they get a defense, there's no excuse why they can't make the playoffs and not make a run. The AFC North, man. We always talk about the NFC North, just because of the Lions, the Packers. The Bears are going to be solid this year. The Vikings. But the AFC North with the Steelers, the Ravens, the Bengals, that could be a very fun division to watch this season. So, I
would
just
you rather have the Steelers receiving core or the Bengals?
the Steelers or the Bengals.
Yeah,
We're talking about DK Metcalf and Pickens. 100.
I don't know how I feel about like a T. Higgins is good, but I don't know.
Well,
I don't know if he's like an elite number two.
let me
He's solid.
would you rather have the Eagles receiving core or the Bengals?
The Eagles are hard to judge, man. Their passing game just comes and goes.
I think honestly, I think the Bengals are the receiving core I probably want the most in the NFL right now. But that's heavily relying on what Jamar Chase can do in a game. And there was a few games where he was like, "I'm just going to go off for 200 plus receiving yards, and no one's going to stop me."
Yeah,
So,
well, he's undoubtedly the best player we mentioned.
yeah,
I was just talking about like as a unit, like is T. Higgins.
I think
I think
Higgins is.
Metcalf is better than him. I
He,
think
yeah,
him and
maybe.
Devonta Smith are pretty close. Completely different players, but pretty close.
It's all about spreading the wealth. I think Burrow does a good job at that, but I mean, Higgins has shown that he can do it on his own. Like games that Chase hasn't played in, he's been very capable of getting 100 receiving yards. And even games that Chase has played, you'll see Chase get like 200 yards, and Higgins will get like the 100-yard game. If they can put it together, if Higgins, I know Higgins, I think had some injuries, right? If he can stay healthy and on the field, then I don't see why that offense isn't putting up 30 plus 40, close to 40 points a game every week.
Yeah,
There's
I look forward to watching them lose 38-35 for the next few years. It'll be great.
yeah, last second heartbreakers against the Ravens. It probably will happen, but I mean, this is the Bengals front office and just blatant errors left and right. And now, like, you have to build your defense around the NFL draft. You can't really go to the free agency anymore because now you sign these monster contracts, and it's all coming from one position. And you paid Burrow too, because he got a fat contract like a year or two ago, right? Um,
Yeah.
so like, I mean, NFL has all the money in the world, but once again, there's a salary cap, and it's going to haunt them if they're going to have to find ways to restructure some of these deals eventually if they want to build. The other one was Derek Stingley Jr., the cornerback from the Texans, was very impressive this year. Probably a top three corner in the league, and also he looked pretty good in the playoffs too. He just got he according to Adam Schefter, he reset the whole cornerback market. He got 90 million over 3 years. And you want to hear a fun fact, Joe? 89 out of the $90 million was guaranteed. Why couldn't they just give him the full 90 million? Like, what's the story behind that?
Steve, this is news to me.
I wish I understood why like front markets were doing that, but yeah, I wanted to talk about some of the more like
It's
recent.
franchise tag him at that point.
Yes, seriously. Um, I wanted to talk about some of the recent ones. I know last week we kind of missed it. Debo was traded right before the free agency started, and there was a few other big moves that happened. But these were the ones that happened this week. I think they're the more fresh ones. And uh, other than that, I saw Jordan Mason was traded by the Niners. I felt like that was an interesting move because Mason was the one who stepped in when McCaffrey was hurt, right, last season.
Mhm.
So like that seemed interesting to me, but it looks like the Niners are trying to save money where
That
they.
might be like a Pittsburgh wide receiver kind of deal where they just look better than on that team than they would anywhere else.
What did you think of the last thing I want to talk at NFL? What did you think of the Seahawks? So Seahawks, um, Lockett, they decide they're done with, and he still wants to play, it sounds like. But Metcalf comes and says he wants to be traded. They end up trading him to the Steelers, which I kind of like that. They don't have a quarterback right now, but if they do find a quarterback, they have two very good receivers there. But the Seahawks decide they want to trade Geno Smith. What they do instead is they bring in Sam Darnold, and then they pick up Cooper Kupp to pair with Jackson. Uh, Joe, give me his name.
You can do it. You can do it. I'm not helping you.
Smith, right?
Almost. Smith and a Jigba.
I always swap the two.
Or in Jigba.
I know he's USC. I know enough about it. He's fantastic. But this is I don't know if the Seahawks were just like, our core is not working out, so we have to bring in other people to try to revamp this offense. But I mean, Geno Smith's been a fine quarterback.
They were the Atlanta Hawks of the NFL. They were just 9-8. They were on a 9-8 pace in October. They were at a 9-8 pace in December. They've been on a 9-8 pace for 3 years.
Yeah, but what does this do to change it? Does this change
nothing? This will make them worse or better, which is I think what they want.
Like just hovering around that same record every year, like they want to continue it. Maybe they're like, oh, we brought in Cooper Kupp, who was like the face of the NFL, like when the Rams made the Super Bowl run. Maybe that will help out a little bit. But I just don't understand it. It's like, oh, Sam Darnold had a fantastic season last year, but he also choked when the Vikings needed him the most. And we're going to bring him in and say, this is a new guy, and he's very capable of being a starter now, which I need to see him prove it on an offense that's away from Kevin O'Connell. Because Kevin O'Connell is a mastermind with the Vikings, one of the best offensive-minded head coaches in the league, and he can develop most quarterbacks. And that's why I was really shocked Daniel Jones didn't go back to the Vikings. But maybe they were like, hey, we're going to start J.J. McCarthy. So Jones was like, no, I want to start in this league. So he went to the Colts and said.
And they're getting Rodgers.
I don't think it's happening, though. I think the Vikings said recently that they're probably not signing him. They want to develop JJ more.
I want it to happen.
That's a weird situation to me. You have a 41 years old, 41-year-old quarterback seeking big-time money and is also waiting to the NFL draft or after the NFL draft to make his decision. It's like, come on, man. Like, you can't have that much in your court anymore. Like, the ball should not be in a 41-year-old's court. Like a franchise should have the power to say, hey, like, we're just not going to sign you. Go retire. And I think that's what the Steelers and Giants should really do. I'm not waiting. Like, if I'm the Giants, I'm not waiting on him. I'm going after Russell Wilson instead.
No, we're getting Kyle McCord. We don't need him.
I do not want. If we got Kyle McCord, I'd be okay if we drafted him in the later rounds, but it can't be that third pick.
Who's that guy the Giants had from Syracuse? He was like our third string quarterback for like 6 years. Oh. Do you remember that? Was it Trasker?
That name doesn't ring a bell. I don't know.
No. Steve Tasker?
Maybe. No. What year range are we talking?
Oh, I don't know. This is bad podcasting.
Just gotta look it up while he's looking it up. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers said that he's gonna wait till after the draft.
Oh, Ryan Nassib. There you go. Not Steve Tasker. Yes. Ryan Nassib.
Yeah, you threw me off there. I do remember Ryan Nassib. He was decent in college.
Oh, no wonder. Those were terrible years for us. 13-16.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I ever watched him in college and said that's going to be an NFL quarterback, but somehow he was the third string quarterback for the Giants.
Well, I think David Carr was the backup before him, so that was a pretty severe drop-off.
Yeah, Carr was the first overall pick.
David Carr was Kyle Orton before Kyle Orton.
First overall pick with the expansion Texans. That's not like a terrible pickup. And he ended up staying with the Giants for a little while, I remember. He liked being in New York, so.
Hey, you got a ring.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk some NBA to close out. A real quick recap of what's been going on.
By the way, who do you have in your bracket? I'm guessing St. John's.
No, I haven't filled out the whole bracket. I will most likely have St. John's going to the Final Four. They do have, like you said, a very tough road. Actually, who's the number one seed in St. John's bracket? Florida?
Auburn? Is it Auburn? No, it might be Florida. It's Florida.
Oh, never mind. I have St. John's going to the Elite Eight. Because
Florida's a tough fucking draw, man.
Florida, like I watched the SEC tournament, and before they did Selection Sunday, I said Florida's probably my winner this year. They're just killing teams in the SEC tournament, and the SEC was the best league in all college basketball this season. So I feel like they're primed to make a run this year, which is unfortunate for St. John's. But if you told me that it would take 25 years to win a NCAA tournament game for St. John's, and they made it to the Elite Eight with Patino, like you, I would tell you I'm dreaming, because like St. John's in the 80s and 90s were on top of the world, and then you had that team in 99 2000 that had Eric Barkley and all those LeVar Postel and Bootsy Thornton. They had like the solid team, and the year before they had Ron Artest on that team, so it looked like they were still getting like the big time New York talent. And then it just fell out, and they had scorers. They had the Omar Cooks of the world, the Marcus Hattons of the world. They eventually got D'Angelo Harrison, and that's when they made the tournament and got knocked out in the first round. But
Chris Mullen, same haircut.
80s baby, Mark Jackson on that team. St. John's been very fortunate, and I think that's why the name still holds a lot of weight. But it's still like, what have you done for me lately? And they haven't done anything. And they had Steve Lavin at one point. That was a nice hire from UCLA. But other than that, it was like that experiment Chris Mullen hire at head coach. Patino's been a lifesaver, and the thing with him is like that sophomore season is so real for him. He I don't know if you saw it, but he always has like a decent first season, but then makes a monster jump his second season, and he did that again with St. John's. They only have 4 losses right now. Um, the thing with them, they're 30% around at three. Um, they're pretty limited on the bench because they have 2 guys in Brady Dunlap and Glover out right now. Um, they were bench players, not starters, but still, it helps to have those guys. And Dunlap was by far their best 3-point shooter. Davion Smith is still nursing a shoulder injury, so I'm curious to see like what he's going to be like in the tournament. Simeon Wilcher has been starting. I like Wilcher a lot, but he draws a lot of fouls, which could be an issue if you're relying on him to start the game. But he's probably your best 3-point shooter right now. But I mean, RJ Lewis, Big East Player of the Year. Zuby Ejiofor, the center that they got from Kansas, has just been amazing. I think both those guys have paved their path to the NBA. RJ Lewis will probably be a second round pick. If Zuby will probably be back next year, but if he has another good year, he's looking at a very solid. He's going to be a nice pickup for an NBA team. He's a double machine. He took over the Big East semifinal. I really wanted to talk St. John's, and I'm really hoping that they get past that Florida team, but I'm not going to hold my breath on that one because I do think Florida's amazing. So, yeah, it's March Madness tournament. You can't go wrong with it. I mean, I think most guys across the country are going to be trying to sneak the games onto their second screen when their bosses aren't looking, like that's just the magic of it. If you work in the office, you're most likely trying to watch it either on your phone, or if you have a second screen at work, you're watching it there. But no one's
Are
missing.
you admitting to something?
I might be, but like it's hard. Like you get so excited about these games, and then 12 o'clock comes around, you're like, I need to watch it. It's just there's not much like March Madness. Like what's up there? Maybe the Super Bowl. That's a
It's the first day is my favorite sports day of the year, or it used to be. I don't know. The magic in life has been lost on me, but in my youth, it definitely was.
that's so depressing. The magic of life
Who's what's the best college basketball team you've seen in your lifetime?
in my lifetime. That Duke team with Jason Williams, Carlos Boozer,
Oh, you're fucking old.
Mike Dunleavy, all those
Is
guys.
that the one with Shane Battier?
Yes, Shane Battier.
the Alaskan assassin.
Did you hear what I just named? Jason Williams, who was, if he didn't get in that motorcycle accident, he would have been a great NBA player. Came
I
back.
thought he shot somebody.
Mike Dunleavy. No, I'm talking about the Jason Williams. That's the point guard, who's now the ESPN analyst.
Oh, I was thinking. I was probably thinking of Jay Williams.
Yeah, Jason Williams. He's the one that fell off the motorcycle and ruined his career, but
Yeah.
he's rebounded. But yeah, Tim, Shane Battier, Mike Dunleavy. Um, who else didn't I name from there that I named before? I don't think that was before JJ Redick for sure. But
It was '06.
yeah, that was probably one of the more dominant ones I've seen. The North Carolina teams with like Rashard McCanns and stuff like that. Um, the Nova teams with like our boy Brunson were pretty dominant. Josh Hart and all of them. Um,
UConn last year, at least in the tournament.
yeah, I would throw them up there. I'm trying to think who else I would.
I always thought 2007 Florida just sticks out in my mind.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I don't think anyone even came close to them their second time around.
Yeah, with Jokin Noah and
Yeah, Corey Brewer, Al Horford,
yeah, that was
Maurice Spates.
that's a good one.
I know more about players 20 years ago than I do in college today.
Those Kentucky teams should have been dominant, but they always fell short. They always
Yeah,
they
yeah.
always ran like 5 or 6 deep with NBA talent every year, and Calipari would have to like get fresh blood every single year and recruit hard.
Well, maybe Calipari and Kentucky this year will get together.
That's the
That's what I'm
thing.
hoping.
So obviously, I bring up a part of my take a lot, but Big Cat brought up a stat. Apparently, I forget the stat. I'll have to listen to the podcast again, but there's only been like 4 teams in the history of this stat, and they all like made runs to the Final Four. And this season, there are 4 teams total, so it's matched the amount of teams in the history that have or at this stat or higher. So we have 4 very dominant teams in this bracket. It's Florida, Auburn. Uh, I'm pretty sure Houston was one of them, and then Duke. So those 4 teams are like by this stat. I forget the stats, what stat it was. So this is probably bad information, but by this stat,
Just say Ken Palm. That's all. That's all we need to say.
why
It's
not?
probably right.
But I mean, this stat is saying that those teams should make a run to the Final Four and don't get pretty with what you're doing with your bracket. Just send a bunch of ones to your Final Four and call it.
I've been doing it right all along.
I mean, it works out most of the years. If you put a majority of ones in there, like usually, that's why like I want to go back to what you were talking about, that 8 versus 9 matchup. I hate.
I'm a little bitch. I don't even do anything higher than a 13 seed. I can't do it.
Yeah, but that
Everyone wants to pick fucking Yale this year, which means they have no chance of winning.
yeah, but you probably see the 15 beat the 2 more often than you see a 8 or 9 beat a 1. It never happened. I can't even tell you the last time I've seen that happen. It probably has happened recently, just to slap me in the face.
Northern Iowa over Kansas.
What were they? 8 or 9, Northern Iowa.
Yeah, I mean this was like 2009.
That's what I'm.
But
I just feel like it doesn't happen. I feel like the 1 seed goes into the second round, and if they dominate the first round, they're ready to go and take on these teams. But this year's a little different. Gonzaga, I think, is the 8 or 9 seed. They're definitely one of those 2. UConn's the 8 seed. They're playing Oklahoma, so that there's some tough. There's going to be some tough second round matchup for 1 seeds. I mean, this isn't a UConn team that's from the past few seasons, but by all means, it's a hard matchup for them. But I guess we'll save NBA. We're still in the regular season. I didn't want to talk about the dominance of the Cavs, but we could talk about that another week. It's
they
still
actually lost.
it's still going. It's crazy that they have a 7.5 game lead on the Celtics. I can't believe it. And I'm really you know the Lakers have kind of taken a step back, but the Rockets in the 2 seed, we got to talk about that eventually too. Um, maybe next week we'll get into that a little.
I do not believe they'll make it past the second round. I just
They just don't have a superstar.
young teams that come out of nowhere in the NBA never make it ever.
I think that'll be a big talking point for us next week, though, because they're the 2 seed right now, and the Grizzlies seem to be back because they're the 5 seed, but they're not too far behind. It's it's pretty cool to see the 2, 3, 4, and 5 are within a game of each other right now. With the with the Rockets and Nuggets being tied for the 2 and 3, and the Lakers and the Grizzlies being tied for the 4 and 5. So it's going to be a race to the finish line there. And the Warriors have jumped.
That feels like that's been the Western Conference every year
Yeah.
for the last 25 years.
Well, what's nice is so the Western Conference is starting to look like the Western Conference again because the Timberwolves are playing way better basketball. They jumped up to the 7 seed. They're 40-30 this year. The Warriors are playing great basketball again. They're up to the 6 seed. So we could see some excellent basketball from the Western Conference. And I'm not too confident about the Eastern Conference. I mean, the Cavs look great, but they have to prove it in the playoffs. The Celtics are the Celtics. We already know they're a contender. The Knicks are in the 3 seed. They have to hold off the Bucks, who are 5 games behind them. But I mean, what are the Bucks going to do? The last 2 years have been kind of an embarrassment for them. There's the Pacers.
Well, Giannis has just been hurt at the wrong time. I don't think it's an embarrassment.
I think the fun story is the Pistons. They're still hanging in there, and the Hawks.
That's who the Knicks have been locked into play for. I think like the last 2 months.
That could be a tough matchup because I think the Knicks have lost twice to them this season.
Yeah, Isaiah Stewart's a scary person, man.
That whole team, Kate Cunningham he's if he can put it together, he's the star in the making too.
I'd be shocked if we lost that series. Honestly, though,
I wouldn't be shocked. You would be shocked?
I'd rather play the Pistons than Milwaukee, Indiana.
Yeah, same.
Even if Orlando, now that they're healthy, if they can go on a run, that's a team I thought would be like a 2 or 3 seed this year.
It's the injury.
I don't know. This isn't one of those years where the East has like 2 great teams, 2 or 3 decent ones, and then a bunch of dog shit. Like I think the East is like 7 deep this year, probably.
Interesting.
In terms of teams that could take a few games in the first round at least.
Yeah. I think I'm officially more excited about the Western Conference. I mean, I'll always be pumped about the Eastern Conference for the Knicks, but what the Western Conference is turning into right now, I, I don't I don't think by any means the number 1 seed, the Thunder, are a lock to just walk to the finals.
We could see Atlanta again. That'd be interesting.
Atlanta would not be fun just because for some whatever reason Trae Young always seems to show up against the Knicks.
That's what I'm saying. That there's not a single. There's one first round opponent where you say. I think last year, ironically enough, it was like Cleveland. Like, oh, I want to see those guys in the first round because 2 years ago we took care of them in 5.
Yeah.
This year, the Pistons are the closest thing just because they're unproven.
That's the weird thing about the Cavs, though. Like, they still have the same guys pretty much from a few years ago, but they just decided to play well. Like
That's why they remind me of that Hawks team that got the 1 seed out of nowhere. They got swept by the Cavs, and then another Donovan Mitchell team, that Jazz team that randomly got the 1 seed, and they got knocked out in the second round. That's why I'm saying like they could definitely beat the Knicks. I'd be shocked they lost in the first round, but if they beat the Celtics, that would be actually surprising to me.
I don't know if I see an Eastern Conference team beating Celtics this year. I still don't see it. I think the Celtics know what it takes to get to the playoffs and be in tip-top shape, and that's why they're not playing at the form that they were last regular season, where they had like what they finish with 60 something wins, 64, 63. I don't know.
Yeah.
Around there. So, but I think this season they're like, let's just get in as a 2 or 3 seed and we're fine. We'll just, we'll cruise through the playoffs. But I mean, we're talking about a team that in a series at most lost 1 game last season in a playoff series. So, and they have the same roster back. So, not much has changed for that Celtics team. They know what it takes to win. So,
and Al Horford hasn't changed since 2012.
How is he still doing this? He's still putting up the same exact numbers, same points, same.
I don't care about the numbers. He can still guard 1 through 5.
Yeah, he's easily
He's
one of
crazy, crazy footwork.
their better defenders, right?
Yeah, 1 through 5.
Yeah,
He could take Luca. I'm telling you.
that's a nice piece off the bench right there. Al Horford. We talked about that Florida team, still doing it, still going strong. Uh,
Exactly.
but yeah, let's close it out there. We'll talk more NBA. I keep saying this as the season goes on, but I think there's some exciting developments starting to come together, especially in the playoff race. And some teams we didn't really expect. Like I didn't expect the Pistons to be this good. I didn't expect the Rockets to be the 2 seed in the Western Conference. Those are stories I want to talk about. Enough about like the LeBron and the Lakers and all this other stuff. Let's talk about some of the people who don't get the spotlight every week, and we will next episode. But yeah, that's under further review. That's episode 34. Give us a follow on our socials. Mostly been using social Instagram, but I would like to jump on the other stuff again. At under further review pod. We're also on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, so you can find us anywhere. But that's a wrap.
And thoughts and prayers to Mike. Get better.
Yeah, hopefully he'll be back next week. We'll see. But this like in your words, the Jeb Bush of episodes. So with Mike, what's
Yeah.
that usually?
Just electric.
Just electric. He's the energy.
It's electricity in the air.
He's
We are the Howard Dean of podcasts when we have Mike Freck.
Up. Mike
What?
Freck. He's the reason our views are going up. It's because they knew Mike came on and it was all over.
He's gonna pull a Mad Dog and host his own shit.
Oh man, we're gonna have to start saving up some of that March Madness money to get him to stay.
I can't believe we get 200 followers. You're already trying to take from the listeners.
Yeah, he's
Unbelievable.
He started his own sports card page that he's advertising. What's next? He's gonna have his own podcast soon.
I'll listen.
I would too. But yeah, I'll see you guys next week for episode 35. We're getting up there.